welcome back. So today we're going to talk about things you should not do in France, and more specifically things you should not do in Paris. If you're planning to come to Paris, if you're planning to move to Paris, or even if you're just coming for a short visit, don't do these things. I love watching this kind of cultural videos, so I really wanted to make one specifically for France and for Paris because I think it's really helpful even if you're just planning to come here as a tourist or for just a couple of days. So based on my experience, here are the things you should not do in Paris or France in general.
Maybe Paris.
Also, before we start, I just want to ask you to please subscribe to this channel. I do a lot of stuff about France, Paris, French culture, student life in Paris, modeling, fashion, some occasional Korean drama stuff. So yeah, if you're into that kind of stuff, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, let's start. Okay, so the first thing that you should not do if you're coming to Paris, do not just stay in Paris. I'm always saying this, if you really have the budget to travel around France, you should definitely do it if you have the budget, because France is not just Paris. I know that Paris is like the super romanticized popular city, but France is so much more. There are so many amazing, beautiful cities in France. If you have the means, maybe try to visit some other cities other than Paris. If you're planning for a longer trip, maybe go to the south, maybe rent a car and do a road trip. There are just so many beautiful cities in France, so don't miss out and don't just stay in Paris. Okay, so the second thing, do not forget to look out for your belongings while traveling on public transportation in Paris. I think Paris is notorious for like the thieves on the metros and that kind of stuff. I don't want you to be paranoid, and I don't want this to ruin your stay in Paris because it's really not that bad. You just have to stay on guard. You just really have to look out for your belongings. If you go somewhere where it's crowded or when the metro is crowded, for example, if you're wearing a backpack, just make sure to like put it in front of you, for example. It's really not that bad. Like, you will be fine. Just don't forget to look out for your belongings, and not just in Paris. I think it goes for all of the cities in the world. No matter where you are, just be safe and be careful and you will be fine. Okay, so the third thing is, while you're in Paris, do not just visit the main tourist attractions. Paris is so much more than just the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre, and especially because the main tourist attractions are always so crowded. Sometimes it's almost impossible to enjoy them because there's just so many people and you have to stay in line for like hours to get into anywhere. I'm not saying don't visit the Eiffel Tower once you come to Paris, because I know it's like the thing you have to do, but don't just do the main tourist attractions, if you know what I mean. Maybe also try to look up some museums or monuments that are a little bit less popular. Yeah, do not just visit the main touristy things. Okay, so my fourth tip is, do not visit the Mona Lisa. I know, shocker. The first time I came to Paris in like 2013, I came with my family and it was typical like touristy trip. We did all of the touristy stuff, and I remember the day we went to the Louvre, we were so excited to like finally see the Mona Lisa in person, but it was such a big disappointment. I think even now it's even more disappointing because there are always more and more people every year coming to the Louvre just to see the Mona Lisa. So I would say do not visit it. I don't want to say anything bad about it because it's beautiful in person, but there's just so many people lining up to see it, just so crowded. There's so many people in front of the painting, so you cannot even really see it from up close. So I think it's just really not worth wasting your time on it because you will not even really be able to see it. But instead, I would say maybe go to l'Orangerie, which is in the Tuileries Garden. Go see the Monet painting, for example. The Monet paintings are amazing. They're so beautiful, and l'Orangerie is a much smaller museum, so there are not that many people, and even if there are many people, there are so many Monet paintings there that you will be able to see at least like one or two of them from up close, from a good view. Okay, so my fifth tip is, don't use taxis in Paris. Traffic can be really bad at times in Paris, and honestly I think the best way to see Paris, to tourists tourists around Paris is to use the public transportation because it's so much faster. It takes you anywhere. You can go anywhere using public transportation. It's fast. It's eco-friendly. Also, if you want to save money, just go take the metro. I'm not saying walk all the way from the airport. Of course, there are just times where you have to take a taxi, but if you can, if it's a short distance, just walk or take the metro. Okay, so my sixth tip is don't stay in a hotel in Paris. Even before I moved here, every time I came here, I always stayed in an Airbnb because hotels are really expensive, and for that amount of money, you could actually just get a really nice Airbnb. If you really want to get a taste of the la vie parisienne, just book an Airbnb. It really just gives you a taste of what life in Paris would be like. Okay, so my seventh tip is don't miss out on visiting a local restaurant or a local cafe. Maybe instead of going to Starbucks or I don't know, McDonald's or whatever you usually go to, maybe try something local. And I think this is a tip that you have to keep in mind every time you go to travel. Just try something local that you wouldn't be able to try at home, that you do not have at home. Do not just stick to your old routine, and do not just stick to going to the same restaurants or cafes that you usually go to when you're home. Try something that is really like French. There's so many cafes, so many like small businesses, small local restaurants. Yeah, just definitely try something very French while you're here. Okay, so my next tip is do not buy the souvenirs from the street sellers. I don't know, I kind of feel bad because I don't want to like crush their businesses and stuff. Not that I think I would crush their businesses with this video, but those things that they sell on the streets at the Eiffel Tower or in front of the Louvre, for example, they're just such bad quality. I think it's just really not worth wasting your money on it because it's really bad quality. Instead of buying those cheap souvenirs, maybe go to like a souvenir shop where they sell handmade stuff or crafted souvenirs. One thing that I really love to buy is handmade soaps. I think everybody would be happy to get a soap. Or maybe it's just me. I think your loved ones would really appreciate something that's a bit more sustainable, that's a bit more special than just a cheap like gift that they will not even be able to use. Okay, so my next tip would be do not go to Champs-Élysées for shopping. I think Champs-Élysées is great at like 7 a.m. in the morning, and at any other time during the day, it's just horrible because it's full of people. It's so crowded. If you go there shopping, you will have to wait so long to be able to try on clothes. It's just really not a good experience for shopping. It's really not enjoyable. I think if you wanna go shopping, maybe try the Le Marais area or Châtelet-les-Halles. It's like the big Forum Les Halles shopping center thingy. That one is also pretty crowded, but it's still better for shopping than Champs-Élysées. Champs-Élysées is just really crowded. I'm not saying don't go there, definitely go there because it's really nice and it's really like, it's beautiful. But if you're planning on shopping, go to Châtelet maybe, I would say, yeah. Okay, so my next tip would be do not just plan for a couple of days. Of course, this again depends on your budget. If you really can afford staying in Paris longer than a couple of days, then of course, like that's fine. But if you have the budget, if you have the funds, if you have the means, maybe try coming here for like 10 days or at least a week because Paris is huge. I think a lot of people underestimate how huge Paris is. There's just so many things here to see, to experience, to eat, mainly to eat. I remember the first time I came here with my family, we came for 4 days and it was not enough. Like it was nothing. We barely even saw anything. You really need at least a week, I would say, to really experience Paris. Okay, so my next tip would be don't waste your money on water. First of all, if you go to a restaurant, you can just ask for tap water, which is drinkable in France. You do not have to buy water extra, just ask them for tap water, which is totally fine to drink in France. And also when you're walking around, do not buy water from like the street vendors. I know that especially during the summer, there are a lot of street vendors who sell money for like 2, 3, even 3 euros, and you really do not have to buy water because there are also like these like valleys fountains, like these fountains on the street where you can just refill your water bottle, which is also a more eco-friendly choice. So yeah, just take your water bottle with you and yeah, you do not have to spend money on water. Wow! And so my final tip is do not just speak English and expect everybody to understand you. I think French people are like famous, are notorious for not being able to speak English or for not wanting to speak English, simply put. But to be honest, it is their country and you're the one coming here, so the national language of the country is French. So do not expect everybody to understand you if you do not even try. I'm not saying that you have to be like fluent in French suddenly, but at least just like try the very basic phrases. Try to show some respect. Maybe just like try to learn the very basic phrases like bonjour, merci, comment ça va, s'il vous plaît, just the things like that. I think if they can see that you're trying, they will already look at you differently. I think they will be at least a little bit more kind to you. So yeah, I'm not saying you have to be fluent in French or whatever, but at least just like try to do some basic French words. I think they will really appreciate it. Yeah, I think this is the end of this video. I hope that it was helpful. Also, I've been thinking if you guys have some video ideas, something like a topic or something that you would like me to make, let me know down in the comments. Once again, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like this video if you liked it. And yeah, I will see you soon. Bye!